guys. It's been 2 weeks again. I'm gonna try not to talk too fast, but my natural cadence is a little fast. Blame the Italian in me. But yeah, I finally have time again. Clinking is my trailer keys I'm playing with. Since I'm over in the cat trailer, as per usual. No makeup today because I didn't go anywhere. It was, I actually had a really bad migraine today, and I took a nap for once, which is rare for me. I don't usually nap. Usually if I try and nap, I just get like a really bad panic attack and I'm awake. And now I'm more tired. But I took my meds and I took a nap, but this thing can happen when I take my migraine meds, which is I'll just stop breathing. That definitely happened a couple of times today. Oops. I'm okay. I'm alive, clearly, but there's only one migraine med that works for me, and that's it. Although I am scheduled to start Botox again, because Botox is one way to treat migraines. I had to stop for a while though, because my doctor, I can't get normally the treatment is it's like your whole head, your neck, and then in your shoulders. But when I had done the treatment when I first moved here and she injected my shoulders, I couldn't move my arms above this, and so I couldn't drive, I couldn't work, I couldn't do anything. And it took about 6 months to wear off, and she really didn't think she could fight the insurance company on it, but recently my migraines got worse again, so she tried. I was like, hey, if it doesn't work, no big deal, just let's give it a go. Because I know how insurance is, because I'm in America. And, but the insurance came back and said they're willing to do it, so that's super cool. And I'm kind of excited to do that. Also will probably help with hating my face, because I've got like forehead wrinkles, and I get these right here real bad. Once again, sorry for the fast talking. I keep telling myself I'm gonna talk slow, and I just can't. But I finally had time to sit today because it's officially slow season. I am part of, I don't want to give too much personal information just because I don't need a stalker. I mean, I live with people who own guns, but I don't need someone showing up in my house. But I am involved with Ren fairs, one more so than others, but my mother-in-law has a booth at a couple Ren fairs across the country. And there's like 2 different circuits, right? And there's like the East Coast and the West Coast. And if you don't know anything about Ren fairs, a lot of people travel from show to show. Like, that's what they do. There are local workers, but a lot of people, that's one fair ends and they go to the next, and they do that. But there is like a yearly circuit. My mother-in-law doesn't do all the shows. I think they'd be kind of impossible. But she does a couple. And the last one for our Sekhmet, no, please don't. I'm leaning my phone on their cat bed, and Sekhmet really wanted to jump into it. But as far as our calendar year goes, oh wow, this lighting is making me look super yellow, teehee. But for this calendar year, we just had our last show. This past weekend was the last weekend, and I actually got to go down to visit, which was really nice because the next show that my mother-in-law is involved with is in like late February, early March. But even so, it's on the opposite side of the country from me, and I was fortunate enough to be able to go last year to visit, because that show's kind of close to the Mexican border, and I went down there to get my teeth fixed, which this is going to be a true definition of a ramble video. ADHD is just unhinged today because I didn't get a lot done because of my migraine, so here's all that energy for you. But yeah, I had to go down to Mexico to get my teeth fixed because they wanted 20 grand to do it where I live, and I don't have 20 grand. I didn't even have, it ended up being like 2 grand, not even, in Mexico. And I was like, I needed 13 fillings, I needed sedation, and they had taken out, I had a sublingual permanent retainer that was kind of pushing my tongue back, so I had them remove it, but I just had to get it replaced because my teeth, you can see, started to move back. I actually had braces when I was younger, and it was bad, but I never really wore my top retainer, and these guys didn't move back, so I was like, okay. I didn't know that apparently the sockets in these teeth are more likely to move than your top ones, because I actually did wear this retainer for like a year, and then it petered out. I didn't stop wearing it, just immediately. But anyway, so when I went to go get my teeth fixed in Mexico, I was able to visit my friends there at that show, because it seems like most of the shows my mother, pretty much every show my mother-in-law does, my friends are at too. So I got to go say hi to them there, and it was nice. But I don't think I'm gonna get to go to Mexico this year, as much as that would be nice, considering I do have my wedding coming up next year, hopefully, knock on wood. Whole deal is, we don't get married until the house is done, so hopefully the house is done by then. But so this was the last show until my home show next summer. I'm trying to pick my words so carefully. Not like there aren't not like anyone couldn't find me if they tried hard enough, but anyway, home show, it's next summer, so this was pretty much my last chance to see my friends until then, and I'm really glad I got to go, because it turns out 2 of my good friends had a loss in their family the day before. It was really heartbreaking, and so I'm really glad I got to go see them. And then I got to see, so most of my friends that I know are in stage acts. They're performers. They're not so much at the booths. But I got to see both of their shows. One of them, I hadn't seen her perform in this act before. I'd seen the act before she joined it. Or before they joined it, excuse me. But I hadn't seen them perform in the act yet. And I actually love, I think I can say this part. So the act they're in is Angels, Heroines in Disguise. And if you've ever been to a Ren Fair, or you're planning to, I highly, highly suggest their show. Super queer friendly, super pro women, pro choice, pro queer. They actually removed all the Harry Potter jokes because we don't support TERFs. That's what they said, and I thought that was pretty cool. Having said, if you're going with children, probably don't go to that show because it's quite filthy in the best of ways. But it was really nice seeing them as part of this act. And then I actually stuck my hand up from the audience for the other one of my friends I went to go see, which I don't normally do. But I was like, I feel like I know them enough to participate. So that was fun. Again, if you're ever at a Ren Fair, Naughty Nauticals, super love them, super great people. And then besides my home show, which I only saw once before I became part of it, and I didn't really see the acts that day. I saw this Talking Pig show, which doesn't come to my home fair anymore, and I saw Naughty Nauticals. And then I saw the Birds of Prey, but the person doing it that year was kind of a jerk. And then I saw the Joust, of course. Actually, no, I don't even think I saw the Joust that year. But yeah, other than that, and there was one other fair I went to years ago in the East Coast, but I didn't go to shows there. So one of the acts that performs at my home show is Hey Nunny Nunny, which I laughed so hard I cried. And very much if you were a Catholic, it's hilarious. I unfortunately got stuck going to Catholic school for a year in high school, and it was hilarious. Including it's like pretty much the end of their show. They do the song, the 5 constipated men in the Bible. Which is very funny. A very good show. And so that was fun. But see the tangent? I'm trying to like rewind through my tangents to figure out where I started, and I think it was that this was the last show until February, March, for helping my mother-in-law with her business. So I have a day job, but I only really work weekends, except it's Thanksgiving week this week, so I will be working Black Friday, being to work at 5 a.m. Teehee. Which, with my luck, if anyone calls out, I will be on the list of people that's shortlisted to ask if they could stay, because I don't know if I said in this video, I tried starting over a couple times because I try not talk fast, but I've kind of given up. But I'd rather, like, you spend this, and if I'm repeating myself, I do apologize, but every time you drive back and forth to work, you use gas. So I'd rather just drive back and forth the minimal amount of times so that you waste less of my money trying to get to and from work. Yeah, so I work 2 days a week on that, partially because of the gas, partially to maximize work for what I can help my mother-in-law with, but that's over until like 3 months now, so I don't know what to do with my time, because again, still in between houses, so all my craft supplies, movies I'd want to rewatch, like, and we don't really have internet out here. I've got 4G, and that's it. Like, I'm in the middle of nowhere, so we can't get internet. I think at one point we had tried to reach out to the people laying fiber optic, and they wanted like $30,000. So no. I digress. So I'm kind of stumped as to what I'm going to spend my time doing, because I am still disabled. There's not much I can do on farm. I can go visit my friend who's in a retirement home. There's a gentleman who, he lived in my house when I moved to West Virginia. There was a man living in my house, an old guy. And I remember when I viewed the house, I joked, hey, does he come with the house? And then the realtor, when we found out I could buy this house, realtor's like, hey, just let me know when you're coming down so I can let him know he has to leave. And I said, does he not have anywhere to go? She's like, well, not really, but his family might be able here and he has friends there. And I'm like, oh, he can just stay. And he did, until he had a stroke. And he will probably never walk again. So I try and visit when I can. And I don't always feel like a great person because I don't get out there as much as I'd like, because it is an hour drive one way, and then I almost feel guilty for saving him. It's clear he didn't want to make it, and he used to be super active, and now he sits in bed all day, and so it's really hard to go see him like that. And so I don't usually, I try and like give myself, if you can make it to an hour, but I don't always make it that long. The other thing is this stupid house I'm still hanging on to, because while I do plan on selling it, by the time I was able to work through, yes, it was my dream house, but it's time to move on. I had already set up someone renting it from me. I say renting, makes me sound like some big bougie landlord. What they're paying me doesn't even cover the mortgage. It was more so just to make sure they're not taking advantage of me. Here's a monthly amount you can pay me, so I know you're not going to trash it like everybody else has, who have I let just stay there. And she's someone I kind of knew and didn't really have a place. So I was like, hey, while I'm figuring this out. So I told her, as long as, like, until she finds somewhere, like, I'd let her know I really do want to just sell the house, but until she can find a place, I won't just rip it out from under her. But like I said, because I have too big of a heart, and I let a lot of people take advantage of that before. There's a lot of damage that was done to that house, and I thought, both me and this person had thought, it should be fine for the winter, but now as it's getting colder, we're discovering more and more problems. And so theoretically I could get out there to do some work, but I can't do the work. My fiance has to do it because disabled, and every day I take him away to do that is one less day he's working on my house. So it's one less day, or one day further, I guess, away from having a house again. Excuse me. Which, I know there's worse things in the world. I'm not on the street. I'm not living out of a car. I do have walls and storage for all my things, albeit a lot of my things have gotten ruined even in storage. Like, I know people have it worse, but I feel like after going through a bunch of uphill battles for so long, I'm not undeserving of finally having stability, you know? It's one of those things, I think, because that there's this question posed, and I guess I'm getting really personal in today's have that, but there's a question people always ask, which is, would you rather be rich and lonely, or poor and, you know, with people you love? And I always thought it was the second. I always said that up and down, and I think I still think that, but it really was a situation where I went from, I lived in a house with someone, I had a wife, but she was very abusive. So even though I had a big, beautiful house, my dream house, I had all these pets, I had a wife, I was very alone and sad all the time. And now I have a lot less than I used to, but I'm with someone who, no matter how rough things get, still tries to make it right, and is a bit of a golden retriever. Isn't it that classic black cat golden retriever duo that TikTok talks about? But this past couple years living in between houses has showed me, like, what my real priorities should and need to be. Like, when I lost my secondhand store, which was still really, really shitty, that what it boiled down to was the landlady was, one, jealous. She confessed that when she found out I had bought the store instead of her getting it offered first, she had been mad. and then made me pay for her portion of the electric for her having her bakery inside of it. And then pretty much badmouthed me to everyone and wouldn't let me do any aesthetic improvements. So, like, the place looked so run down that even though it's where my store was, I repeatedly drove by it because it just looked so run down. But despite all that, there's one condition, I think, where I would reopen a secondhand store, and that's if my father-in-law, who is a collector of collectors, he has so much stuff. And he loves collecting stuff. He's one of those people where he's not going to pass up a good deal. And I love that about him. But it also means he collects stuff, and it drives my mother-in-law crazy. So if he ever decides that, yeah, he does want to open a secondhand store with me and we can start decluttering his life and we can start collecting and selling together, I think I'd reopen. But barring that, I don't think I'd ever want to do it again, just because it is a lot of stress having to run everything, sometimes having to be the bad guys, getting yelled at by customers, not being able to blame anyone else, not being able to, it's corporate, which is, of course, my favorite line, getting yelled at by customers is, hey, call corporate, I can't do anything, which is true. My day job had the bathrooms broken for like 3 months, and I repeatedly got yelled at by customers. I'm like, listen, the plumbing's broken. I don't know what you want me to do about it. Well, you should call corporate. We have every week, multiple times a week, even. Thankfully, it's finally fixed, but I don't know how I feel about that, considering I'm not small town anymore, but it is definitely not a city out here. And as with most small town USA, there's a lot of drug problems. And like even the Goodwill in our area shut down the dressing rooms and the bathrooms because they kept having issues. But it came to the other day, my friend who works at the local airport, this small little airport, like has like a flight a day, maybe 3 tops during peak season, but it's usually a flight a day. It's just to get to the next like bigger airport. I digress. She said that they had actually had an incident where someone was doing some injectables and was unconscious in their bathroom. And like I carry Narcan, I'm trained in that kind of thing. And I'd actually talked to someone about this recently. I've really distanced myself from a lot of people who are actively using. A lot of my friends I used to have that do actively use still, I'm not friends with anymore. And it's more so to protect myself, which I guess is selfish. But I've had a few too many of my friends end up underground with, other things in their lives going on, but drug issues playing a role. And I've been pleasantly surprised of having some people I've had to stop contacting and then get back in contact with years later, finally gotten clean, and I'm so happy. But I can't be in anyone's life who's, even the friends I love and dearly, it's so. But I digress. Being, part of the punk scene growing up and having a lot of friends come from hard places, like I know. So I do carry Narcan, but it is scary to think that one day I might just go to use the restroom at work and have a situation like that, because that's always horrifying. Not in like clutching my pearls horrifying, but in a sad way. Because I know that a lot of what leads to things like that is it's never out of a place of happiness that you end up like that. And like I said earlier, I have a big heart. and I always want to help people. But I think one of my big lessons I've had to learn the last couple years is you can't help everyone. You can love everyone, but you can't put everyone above your own health and safety. Or even happiness on some occasions. Now, I'm not saying be selfish. Like, don't go around just being a dick. But learn to have healthy boundaries and uphold them. And if someone crosses them, that's that. I've been pretty good about that. Speaking of boundaries, and I did see comments on the last video of the appreciated longer videos, so I'm trying to see how long I can go. But by the power of ADHD, I will make a long video of just rambling about nothing. It's also helpful to have something to play with my hands instead of looking at the camera, because I'm autistic. And being autistic, looking at the camera counts as looking in someone's eyes, I think, in my brain, and so I try and just end it. But playing with this little keychain, I'm less anxious, so I've gotten already pretty far. But speaking of boundaries, the other day at work, and I'm pretty proud of how I do at work. I got a raise, not really anything major, like it's literally like 25 cents, which doesn't even add up to like anything, especially being part-time, but it more so meant that with it, instead of having to call a manager to do things like a return or oops, I scanned that twice, being able to, fix small issues like that without having to call a manager. No. Which is appreciated when it's busy season. And they usually put me on as head cashier because I say I have a really lovely demeanor, I'm really good with the customers. And out of nowhere, my last shift, which really upset me, I was checking out this lady, and during the holidays in America, every corporation you work for has their cashiers ask, do you want to donate to Toys for Tots? We all know it's just them getting their tax write-off because they take your donation, claim it as their donation, take the write-off. We all know this. But as a cashier, I will lose my job if I don't ask. That's part of it. Just like if you're in the States and don't know, a lot of the stores that ask you to sign up for like a loyalty rewards card, where it's not like a credit card, it's just like they grab your email address and a phone number or whatever. If you shop there even twice, it's even once, honestly. A lot of places base their raises and their hours on if people can sign up, and it's shitty. It's really shitty. But if people say no and numbers go down, you do get a talking to, like, hey, why aren't you doing this? It is what it is. So if you do shop at a lot of stores like that do ask for things like that, even if you sign up and then cancel it like a week later, it still is helpful to the person at the register. We're just trying to do our jobs. I digress. So I'm going through my normal spiel at checkout. Do you want to donate to Toys for Tots? She gives me the spiel about corporations. I say, I understand, ma'am. And I'm bagging her stuff, and as she's leaving, this guy, I'm going to assume it was her husband, comes up and hands me this card, and it says, Jesus is calling. And I kind of like awkwardly laugh, like, haha, cute, because I'm trying to be polite. And he just looks, read the back, and walks away. And the back says something stupid like, if you accept the call, I accept the call from Jesus, and I accept his free ticket to eternal salvation. And it's like, I decline this call from Jesus. I know by doing so, I am damning myself to an eternity in hell. And I'm like, what makes you think it's appropriate to walk up to a complete stranger in their workplace and tell them they're going to eternal torment in hell, knowing nothing about this person? What makes you think that's socially acceptable, appropriate, or wanted? And I ripped it up after showing my manager, who rolled her eyes. I only have one manager who's a lady, and she is like my favorite person ever. But picking up carts later, I found he had dropped them in a bunch of baskets and stuff, and I'm just, if I as a pagan went around dropping little leaflets for Sekhmet or Hecate or, God fucking forbid, Lucifer, there'd be an angry mob at my door. But because it's Christianity, it's okay to just walk up to a stranger and do that. And the only thing I can think is, I had my sleeves rolled up so you could see, like, I had a little bit of a tattoo poking out. I mean, I have tattoos on, so I'm assuming you didn't see that. Oh my god, upside down and backwards. So I'm assuming it was some combination of tattoos and colorful hair, which is funny because my alternative appearance is really toned down compared to what it used to be. And that day I did have a shirt that came up to here, because I don't know if I've actually worn a shirt that shows it on this channel, but I do have a tattoo that goes all the way down. And it actually goes down to like here, which is weird because I don't really consider myself like a tattooed person. I'm like, oh, it's just a thing I have on me. Whatever. But that day I had that covered up, and you only could see really that I had some words over here. This one actually says, "She's a rebel, awake and unafraid," which are a combo of Green Day and My Chemical Romance lyrics, and Eyeball from Welcome to Night Vale, Good Enough, which, and then a cat that was done as part of a fundraiser for a local animal shelter. And then I have pink and blue hair. That's it. I'm never rude to customers. I'm always polite. I always smile. I smile like I got to meet one of my favorite musicians once, and I try and smile like that. Or like I'm seeing an old friend. Because working at, it's a discount big box store, and a lot of the customer base are old people, and I know for a lot of them this is their human interaction. Kids have moved away, not a lot of people still have friends that are alive or able to get around. So I know I'm going to try and move without showing my feet. None of that. But I do have hypermobility, so if I don't shift positions frequently enough, I'll throw my hip out, and my chiropractor is closed till next week. Which, I've had a lot of people also like get on me about, oh, you go to a chiropractor. I'm like, yeah, I know it's not for everybody. I know the risks. I know that a chiropractor could kill me by cracking my neck the wrong way. I also know when I don't go to the chiropractor, I have this part of my back that locks up enough that I can't walk. And then he cracks my back, and then I can walk. And considering I don't want to be bedbound, that's what works for me. I'm not hurting anybody, so it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, well, my decision to do that isn't harming you, so why do you care? Why is what, and I think that's the big thing with America as a whole, possibly most of the world, is why is what someone does, if it's not, infringing on you, why does it matter? Why does colored hair matter? I'm not coloring your hair. Why does a guy wearing fingernail polish, why does that matter? He's not painting your nails. Why does it matter? And then it gets into bigger things like, bodily autonomy and stuff like that. And the big argument in America is like, when it comes to women's rights is, oh, well, blah, blah, blah. But it's against my religion to do those things. Okay, well, no one's asking you to. That's it. So at my job, I know a lot of these older people don't really get out, and so this is their human interaction. And a lot of times I think of my grandmother, or, some of my family members that, because I came from a big Italian family, and my mother was the youngest of her siblings, and had me when she was already quite a bit older than typically. So growing up, like, my aunts and everything were already kind of old. But so I try and keep that in mind when all these customers come in, and even when they're being rude, I try and just be really polite and smile, because I know this is their interaction for the day a lot of times. And even if it's not, being nice doesn't hurt anybody. I'm not going to try and ruin someone's day by being shitty. If they want to try and ruin my day by being shitty, I guess that says something about them. But if I have to stand here anyway, because it's my job, I'm going to try and make people's day better by just being cheerful. It's what I can do. So, with that, incident with the customer handing me that, it's like, I know it says nothing about me, because I know about me, and I know that no matter what, I always try and do the right thing. I always try and be nice to everybody I meet. I always help everybody when I can. And I feel like that's more Christ-like than going around handing out these passive-aggressive pieces of paper that are only contributing to pollution and overall annoyance of the general populace. But it's just one of those things that makes you think about where we are as a society. I don't know. I like to hope that society is going to better places. But there's this one YouTuber I follow, and she's a very small channel. I don't even remember her name. I remember it was Rose Whisperer, spelt with a Z. And it's not an ASMR channel per se. It's more so like a vlog channel. She does art. And I like to listen to her when I sew. But listening to her talk recently about it, because she's from the Ukraine, talking about how things are for her and the state of her life, it just got me thinking, like, have we already peaked as humans? Like, I'd like to think the goal for humanity is to just make life better, but not just for humans, like for everything, like help the planet, help each other. But I just see so little of that these days, and it's a lot of every man for themselves, and I just don't understand it. Like, even people who have wronged me, it takes either one really big thing, which usually comes down to the safety and health, in a couple of cases lives of my pets, for me to snap and say, no, we're good here. But just most people just don't. It's like the shopping cart theory. Like, if you go shopping, do you bring your cart back, at least to the cart return, or you just leave it? Like, there's nothing saying you have to. You're not breaking any laws by not going to the cart return. But by not doing that, you do make someone else's life harder. Someone who's only being paid minimum wage to go out, maybe in the rain or the cold or the heat, to have to go grab your cart specifically. And a lot of people don't pass the shopping cart test. Now, admittedly, the other day at work, normally I do bring my shopping cart back in. I park it back in the thing, but they put out pallets to divide the entrance and the outrance exit, because we're coming up on Black Friday and we need the proper flow of traffic. Although I think it inadvertently made things worse. But because of that, once you go in the entrance door, you can't walk back out it. And so I just brought my cart right up to the building. But I did place it where We're technically supposed to place it if it's outside, so I guess I can't. But, I don't know. Rambling. I've made it to 40 minutes. This is an all-time record for me, I think. I'm not sure what time it is. My fiance is probably wondering where the hell I went. Because I was just like, oh, I'll hang out with the cats for a minute, and then never came back. But, you know, it's kind of nice to be around them. The cats in here have reached a nice equilibrium and aren't destroying things, so I've started adding things like carpets and more stuffies and all that stuff, which is nice. But I hope this was either entertaining or thought-provoking, or you fell asleep, or at the very least not obnoxious. I love all of you. Thank you again for every single one of you. Thank you for every single one of you who does watch my videos. I really appreciate it. And if I don't post again before then, happy holidays.